Questions. My dear friends, have you ever noticed the most dangerous conversations you have are not with others, they are with yourself? Questions. We wake up every morning and immediately start arguing, not with our boss, not with our spouse, but with the voice inside our head. It says things like, questions, why are you so lazy? You can't do this. Nothing ever works out for you. And then we wonder, why do I feel so drained, so negative, so anxious? Questions. It's simple. Because we've become victims of our own inner dialogue. So today I want to challenge you. For just 3 days, talk to yourself differently. Questions. You don't need to meditate in the Himalayas. You don't need to delete social media. Just change the way you talk to yourself for 3 days and watch how your world begins to shift. Questions. Let me tell you a story. Once a man went to a saint and said, Swamiji, my mind is full of negative thoughts. I can't stop them. The saint smiled and said, my child, go to the river. Questions. And stop the current with your hands. The man said, that's impossible. The saint said, exactly. You cannot stop thoughts, but you can change their direction. Now, questions. Imagine if every day you keep saying, I'm useless, I'm behind, I'm not enough, you're pouring poison into your own river. But if you say, I am learning, I am growing. Questions. I am becoming, you are purifying that same water. Friends, the first step is awareness. Notice what you say to yourself when things go wrong. Questions. Because the language you use creates the emotion you feel. When you say, I'm failing, your mind shuts down. When you say, I'm learning, your mind opens up. Why 3 days? Questions. Because our brain loves patterns. If you feed it new words for 3 days, it starts to crave that positivity. Think of it like going to the gym. The first few push-ups hurt. But after a few days, questions, you don't want to stop because you start feeling strong. The same happens with your inner dialogue gym. A practical technique, 2 minutes. So here's the practice for the next 3 days. Questions. When you wake up, before touching your phone, say these 3 lines. Today is a gift. I will use it well. I am becoming better, not bitter. Whatever comes, questions, I will handle it with grace. Or say it out loud, not in your mind, out loud. Because when your ears hear your own voice, your heart starts to believe it. And throughout the day, questions, whenever you catch yourself speaking negatively, replace it with these powerful phrases. Instead of, why me? Questions, say, try me. Instead of, I can't handle this, say, I'm learning to handle this. Say, instead, I'm not enough, say, I'm evolving every day. You see, questions. The power of transformation is not in changing the world outside. It's in changing the conversation inside. Once a little boy came home crying, saying, Dad, questions. Everyone called me stupid in school. But the father smiled and said, Son, if someone gives you a gift and you don't accept it, who does the gift belong to? The boy said, questions. It still belongs to the giver. But the father said, exactly. So, when people give you their negative words, don't accept them. They belong to them. Questions, not to you. The same applies to our own mind. When your mind gives you negativity, you can simply say, thank you for your opinion, but I choose a better one. Our friends, questions. Your life is a reflection of your self-talk. If your words are heavy, your life feels heavy. If your words are hopeful, your life feels light. Some of us are waiting for someone to motivate us. Questions. But the truth is, the person who talks to you the most is you. So shouldn't you be your best motivator? For the next 3 days, be your own Gaur Gopal Das. Be your own life coach. Be your own friend. Questions. Talk to yourself like someone you truly love. And after 3 days, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you'll notice something. Your face will look calmer. Your energy will feel lighter. Questions. Your eyes will say, I've got this. Because the real miracle doesn't happen outside you. It happens inside you. when you change your inner dialogue. Questions. The most powerful conversation in your life is the one you have with yourself. Talk to yourself with kindness. Talk to yourself with courage. Questions. Talk to yourself with faith for just 3 days, and you'll start a journey that transforms a lifetime. Questions. There is a small voice that never stops speaking inside your mind. Sometimes it's soft, sometimes it's loud, sometimes it's kind, and sometimes it's cruel. Questions. It speaks to you more than anyone else does. More than your parents, your friends, your boss, or your partner. And here's the truth. Questions. The way that voice talks to you decides how you experience your life. Your inner voice shapes your outer reality. Let's take a simple example. Imagine you wake up one morning, questions, and the first thought that crosses your mind is, I'm so tired. I hate this day already. You haven't even stepped out of bed, and your day is already doomed. Why? Questions. Because you have programmed your mind to expect a dull, stressful, unproductive day. The traffic will seem worse. Your colleagues will seem more annoying. Questions. The smallest mistake will feel like a disaster. You will walk through the day carrying invisible weights of irritation. And by the time night comes, you'll say, see? Questions. I knew it was going to be a bad day. Now imagine the same morning, same body, same work, same traffic, but this time you tell yourself, it's a new day. Questions. I'll give my best and make it meaningful, Bar. You are not lying to yourself, you're simply setting a positive tone. Suddenly, you start noticing small good things. Questions. Your favorite song plays on the radio, someone smiles at you, you get a small win at work. The outer world didn't change. Your inner voice did. Our inner talk is like a filter. Questions. It colors everything we see. If the filter is negative, even blessings look like burdens. If the filter is positive, even challenges look like opportunities. Questions. The way you talk to yourself determines whether your mind becomes your greatest friend or your worst enemy. Think of a child learning to walk. When the child falls, no one says, useless baby. Questions. You can't even walk properly. Instead, everyone claps and says, come on, get up, you can do it. The child smiles and tries again. That encouragement gives the child confidence. Questions. But as we grow up, we stop clapping for ourselves. When we fall, we say, I'm such a failure. I always mess things up. And the sad part is, we start believing that. Let's be honest. Questions. We all make mistakes. We forget things. We get angry. We fail exams, lose jobs, argue with loved ones. But none of those define who we are. Questions. What defines us is how we talk to ourselves after those moments. Do we insult ourselves or inspire ourselves? Do we replay the pain or do we rewrite the lesson? There's a story about a gardener. Questions. Every day he spoke lovingly to his plants. He would say, grow strong, grow healthy, you are beautiful. His garden was full of vibrant flowers. One day a neighbor laughed at him, saying, questions. You're crazy, plants can't understand you. The gardener smiled and said, maybe they can't, but I can. And when I speak kindly, I grow too. That's the secret. Questions. When you speak kindly to yourself, you grow. You begin to stand taller, smile wider, and live lighter. Your energy changes, and people feel that. You start attracting positivity. Questions. Not because the world changes, but because your perception changes. I remember meeting a young woman who said, every time I look in the mirror, I see all my flaws. I asked her questions. If your best friend stood in front of you and said, I feel ugly, what would you tell her? She replied, I'd tell her she's beautiful, strong. Questions. And more than enough, I smiled and said, then start talking to yourself like your best friend, not your worst critic. It's strange, isn't it? Questions. We speak to ourselves in ways we'd never speak to another person. We say things like, questions, you're stupid, you'll never succeed, or you're not good enough. If someone else said those words to us daily, we'd call it verbal abuse. But when our own mind says it, questions, we call it being realistic. But no, my friend, being realistic doesn't mean being cruel. It means acknowledging your flaws while still believing in your potential. It means saying, you wise questions. I made a mistake, but I'm learning. I'm improving. I'm on my way. That's true realism. Growth with grace. Your inner voice is also a magnet. If it's full of fear, it attracts more fear. Questions. If it's full of gratitude, it attracts more blessings. Try this simple shift for 1 week. Questions. Instead of saying I have to, say I get to. I have to go to work becomes I get to work and provide for my family. I have to study becomes I get to learn something new today. I have to exercise to care for my body. You will be amazed how that small change changes your entire moody. I be exercises. I get care for questions. And here's something powerful, the way you talk to yourself becomes the way you talk to others. If your inner voice is harsh, you'll be harsh to people. If your inner voice is gentle, questions, you'll become compassionate to everyone. The world outside mirrors the conversation within. So, the next time life throws something unexpected, pause. Don't immediately say, questions, why does this always happen to me? Instead, try saying, what is this trying to teach me? That single question turns frustration into wisdom. Questions. Your inner voice can be your life's greatest tool. Train it like a muscle. Feed it with faith. Exercise it with gratitude. Rest it with silence. When your inner dialogue becomes peaceful, questions, your outer world naturally becomes more joyful. Because in the end, your life is not shaped by what happens to you. It's shaped by what you tell yourself about what happens to you. Questions. The moment you start speaking to yourself with love, courage, and hope, the universe begins to respond with the same. So every morning, before you step into the world, questions, take a moment to whisper to yourself, I am capable, I am blessed, I am growing. Do this consistently and watch. Your outer reality will begin to reflect the beauty of your inner voice. Questions. There's a beautiful saying, you cannot change what you are not aware of. Awareness is the flashlight that reveals what's hidden in the dark corners of our mind. Questions. It's the gentle moment when you realize, this is how I've been thinking, this is what I've been feeling. Without awareness, questions, we move through life on autopilot. Reacting instead of responding, blaming instead of understanding, surviving instead of truly living. Think of your mind as a car. Questions. If you're unaware of where you're driving, you'll probably end up somewhere you never intended to go. Questions. Awareness is like switching on the GPS. It helps you recognize where you are and where you want to be. Transformation begins the very moment you become conscious of your own patterns. Questions. Let's take a simple example. Imagine you're late for work and someone cuts you off in traffic. Instantly you feel your blood boiling. You shout, honk. Questions. Maybe mutter a few words that aren't very spiritual. Later, you reach office still irritated. You snap at your colleague, make a mistake in an email, and the whole day feels terrible. Questions. But pause for a second. Was it really the person in traffic that ruined your day? Or was it your reaction that you were not aware of? Now imagine the same situation with awareness. You're cut off. Questions. The same anger arises, but this time you notice it. You say to yourself, I can feel anger rising. My hands are tightening on the steering wheel. You take a deep breath. Questions. You don't push the anger away, you simply observe it. Within moments, it loses its control over you. You reach the office calmer, you smile, and the day flows smoothly. Questions. The difference is not in the event, it's in your awareness. Awareness is the space between stimulus and response. Most of us react so fast that we don't even realize there was a choice. Questions. But awareness gives us that sacred pause, the power to choose our response. And every time you choose consciously, you grow spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. You see questions. Many people want to change their life, but they keep trying to fix things from the outside. Their job, their relationships, their circumstances. True transformation doesn't start there. Questions. It starts by becoming aware of your own thoughts, habits, and emotions. Because the world is not as it is. The world is as you are. When you become aware of your inner world, questions, your outer world automatically begins to change. I once met a man who told me, I keep attracting the same kind of toxic relationships. Why does this keep happening to me? I asked him questions. Have you noticed what you believe about yourself deep inside? After a few moments, he said quietly, I think I'm not good enough to be loved. That was it. Questions. His lack of awareness about that inner belief had been shaping every decision he made. When he became aware of it, he started healing it. Over time, he learned to speak to himself kindly. Questions. And guess what? He started attracting healthier, happier connections. Awareness is like cleaning your mirror. If the mirror is dusty, you see a distorted image. But once you wipe it clean, questions, you see yourself clearly. Similarly, when you are unaware, your perception of life is covered with dust. Dust of ego, comparison, anger, fear, and judgment. But as you become aware, layer by layer, questions, that dust begins to clear, and you start seeing reality as it is, not as your emotions paint it to be. There's a funny but true story about a man who woke up one morning, looked in the mirror, questions, and shouted, "Oh no, my face is dirty." He rushed to clean the mirror. Of course, the mirror wasn't dirty, his own face was. That's what we often do. We try to clean the world, fix people, questions, change circumstances, when what really needs cleansing is our own awareness. Awareness is also the beginning of emotional mastery. When you feel sad, don't drown in it. When you feel angry, questions, don't deny it, just notice it. Become the witness of your mind. The moment you say, I'm aware that I'm feeling sad, you create a gap, and that gap is freedom. Questions. You are no longer the emotion, you are the observer of it. Imagine sitting by a river and watching leaves float by. Your thoughts and emotions are like those leaves, constantly flowing. Questions. If you jump into the river, you'll be swept away. But if you sit on the bank and simply observe, you remain peaceful. That's awareness. You learn to watch without getting lost. In daily life, questions, awareness can be as simple as noticing how you talk to people. Maybe you realize that you interrupt others often, or that you scroll your phone mindlessly whenever you feel lonely. Questions. Or that you eat not because you're hungry, but because you're stressed. The moment you become aware of it, you gain power. Because once you see it, you can change it. Questions. There's no need to judge yourself for what you notice. Awareness is not about guilt, it's about growth. It's like switching on the light in a dark room. Questions. You don't get angry at the darkness, you just see it, smile, and then bring in light. Try this for a day before reacting to anything. Pause for 2 seconds and ask questions. What am I feeling right now? That simple act can transform your relationships, your work, even your peace of mind. Because when you're aware, you act with intention, not impulse. And slowly, questions. Awareness becomes your natural state. You begin to notice beauty more deeply. The way sunlight filters through your window, the sound of laughter, the calmness in silence. Questions. You start living presently instead of mechanically. Awareness turns ordinary moments into sacred experiences. So when we say awareness is the first step to transformation, it's not just a nice line. Questions. It's a law of life. Without awareness, you live unconsciously, repeating the same patterns again and again. With awareness, you wake up, you become alive, deliberate, and peaceful. Questions. You begin to steer your life instead of being driven by it. The journey of transformation doesn't start with changing the world outside you. It begins when you open your eyes inward and say, questions. Let me understand myself first. Because once you understand yourself, everything else starts to make sense. Awareness is the bridge between who you are and who you can become. Questions, and once you cross it, there's no going back. Questions. Have you ever tried to stop your thoughts? The more you try, the louder they seem to get. It's like telling a river to stop flowing or telling the wind to stop blowing. It's impossible. Questions. Thoughts are like the heartbeat of the mind. You cannot stop them, but you can learn to guide their direction. That's the real art of inner peace. Not in fighting your mind, but in befriending it. Questions. Let's try a small experiment. Close your eyes and try not to think of a pink elephant. Don't imagine its big ears, its long trunk, or its cute little eyes. Just don't think of it. What happened? Questions. The pink elephant probably became clearer than ever. That's how the mind works. The more you resist, the more it persists. The secret is not to stop thinking, but to redirect the thinking. Questions. Imagine your mind as a river. When the river flows towards negative valleys, fear, anger, jealousy, your emotions flood and destroy your inner peace. Questions. But if you gently guide that river toward positive valleys, gratitude, courage, faith, the same energy nourishes your soul. You don't need to block the river, you just need to change its path. Questions. In our daily life, we often drown in negative thoughts because we give them too much attention. Questions. One small worry becomes 1,000 what ifs. One mistake becomes, I'm such a failure. The problem is not the thought. The problem is that we start believing every thought that appears in our mind. Questions. We forget that thoughts are not facts. They're just clouds passing through the sky of our consciousness. There's a story of a monk who sat meditating beside a busy road. Questions. A traveler stopped and asked, "How can you meditate with all this noise around?" The monk smiled and said, "Questions. Noise outside only disturbs you when there's already noise inside." The monk didn't stop the sound of the cars. He just redirected his focus inward. Questions. That's what we must do with our thoughts. You can't silence every noisy thought, but you can choose which ones deserve your attention. It's like being the guard at the gate of your mind. Questions. Many thoughts will knock on your door, but you decide which ones to invite in for tea. Let's make it practical. Suppose you wake up late and miss your morning meeting. Questions. Your mind instantly starts attacking you. You're so irresponsible. Why can't you get it right? Everyone will think you're lazy. If you try to stop those thoughts, they'll grow stronger. Questions. Instead, redirect them gently. Wes, I was late today. It happens. But I'll make sure to be more prepared tomorrow. One mistake doesn't define me. You see the difference. Questions. You didn't silence the thought. You changed its direction. You replaced blame with growth. Redirection doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. Questions. It means choosing a perspective that serves your peace, not your pain. When you catch your mind running toward worry, gently guide it toward gratitude. When it races toward fear, guide it toward faith. Questions. When it spirals into comparison, guide it toward contentment. Every redirection strengthens your mental muscles. I once spoke to a student who said, "Sir, I can't stop overthinking." Questions. My mind never rests. I told him, "That's good, it means your mind is active. You just need to teach it a new job." I asked him what he usually overthinks about. He said, "My exams." Questions. My future, my parents' expectations. I said, then use that same energy to plan your study schedule, to visualize your goals, to think of ways you can grow. Questions. Don't stop thinking, just redirect it to something useful. Our thoughts are like children. They run around restlessly, make noise, sometimes cause trouble. If you yell at them, questions, they get louder. But if you gently hold their hand and guide them, they calm down. Your mind is the same. It doesn't need punishment, it needs direction. Questions. When negative thoughts come, and they will, don't panic, just say, just I see you. Awareness itself begins the process of redirection. Once you see where the mind is going, questions, you can choose a better path. You are not your thoughts, you are the one watching them. Let's look at another example. Questions. You're scrolling through social media and see someone your age buying a new car, traveling abroad, or getting promoted. Instantly, your mind whispers, look at them. Questions. You're falling behind. That thought hurts, doesn't it? But instead of trying to stop it, redirect it. Say to yourself, good for them. Their success shows what's possible. Questions. My journey is different, but I'm on my way too. Same situation, new energy. The redirection shifts your emotional state from jealousy to inspiration. Even in spiritual practice, this applies. Questions. Many people say, I can't meditate because my mind keeps wandering. But meditation is not about stopping your thoughts. It's about noticing where they go and gently bringing them back. Questions. Every time you bring your attention back, you strengthen your ability to redirect. Slowly, your mind learns that peace is its home. Your thoughts are like the steering wheel of your life. Questions. If you let them spin uncontrollably, you'll crash. But if you hold them steadily and steer them consciously, you'll reach beautiful destinations. Every great invention, every act of kindness, questions, every breakthrough began as a thought. The same mind that can create stress can also create solutions, poetry, art, and love. The power is neutral. Your direction decides the outcome. So, questions. When life feels heavy and your mind feels noisy, don't try to switch off your thoughts. Instead, switch their path. Say to yourself, this thought is not helping me. Questions. Let me choose a better one. And if you keep doing this again and again, something magical happens. Your mind begins to trust you. It stops being your enemy and becomes your greatest ally. Questions. Because the truth is, peace is not the absence of thoughts. Peace is the ability to navigate your thoughts with wisdom. You don't need to silence the river of your mind. Just guide its flow. Questions. And it will carry you gracefully toward the ocean of calm, creativity, and clarity that's already within you. Questions. Failure. The word itself carries so much weight. It's a word that can make even the strongest person doubt themselves. But what if I told you that failure isn't the end of the road? Questions. But a redirection to something better. What if every time you said, I'm failing, you changed it to, I'm learning? Questions. That single shift in language can change the entire direction of your life. Because words are not just sounds, they are stories we tell ourselves. And those stories become our reality. Questions. Think about it. When you tell yourself, I'm failing, your mind shuts down. You lose motivation. You stop trying, it feels like you've hit a wall. Questions. But when you say, I'm learning, something powerful happens. Your brain opens up. It starts asking, okay, what can I do better next time? Suddenly, the same wall becomes a ladder. Questions. The situation didn't change. Your perspective did. Let me share a story. There was once a young man who dreamt of becoming a singer. He went to auditions, but every time he was rejected. Questions. After his fifth rejection, he said to his friend, maybe I'm just not good enough. His friend smiled and said, questions. Maybe you're not failing. Maybe you're learning what doesn't work. The young man took that to heart. Instead of quitting, he started learning music theory, practicing daily. Questions. Studying performances and working on his weaknesses. A few years later, he became one of the most loved singers in his city. He didn't become successful because he never failed. Questions. He became successful because he didn't stop learning from his failures. That's the difference between people who grow and people who give up. Both experience setbacks. Both make mistakes. Questions. Both fall. But one group labels it failure and stops, while the other labels it learning and continues. In our daily lives, this mindset shift is everything. Questions. Suppose you start a new business and it doesn't work out. Most people would say, I failed. But a learner says, no, I know what not to do next time. Suppose you give a presentation, questions, and it doesn't go well. You could say, I'm terrible at speaking. Or you could say, questions, this is my first step towards becoming a better speaker. Do you see the power of changing just a few words? Questions. Life isn't judging you for how many times you fall. It's teaching you with every experience. Failure is not a full stop. It's a comma in your sentence of growth. Questions. Every mistake carries a message, but we only receive that message when we stop complaining and start reflecting. Let's take an everyday example. You're trying to bake a cake and it burns. Questions. Most people would sigh and say, I can't cook. I failed. But if you replace that with, I'm learning, you'll think, maybe I kept it in too long. Questions. Maybe I need to adjust the temperature. You'll try again, and the next time, the cake will be better. It's such a simple shift, but it builds resilience, patience, and confidence. Questions. Children do this naturally. When they learn to walk, they fall hundreds of times. But not once do they say, I failed. They just smile, get up, questions, and try again. Because they're not thinking about success or failure, they're focused on learning. Somewhere along the way, as adults, we forget this childlike wisdom. Questions. We become so afraid of failure that we stop moving altogether. But the truth is, every expert was once a beginner. Every master once struggled. Questions. Thomas Edison failed more than 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. When someone asked him how it felt to fail 1,000 times, he said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. Questions. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps. That's the mindset of I'm learning. And that mindset creates miracles. Even in relationships, this mindset changes everything. Questions. When a misunderstanding happens, people often think, this relationship is failing. But if you look deeper, you might say, we're learning how to understand each other better. Suddenly, questions. Instead of resentment, there's growth. Instead of blame, there's empathy. When you live with the I'm learning mindset, questions, you stop fearing mistakes because you realize they're your greatest teachers. You become curious instead of critical. You become patient instead of pressured. And most importantly, questions. You keep moving forward instead of getting stuck. Let's say you've been trying to stay fit. You miss a few days at the gym and eat something unhealthy. Instantly, that inner critic wakes up. Questions. You failed again. But what if you told yourself, I'm learning how to build consistency? Then it becomes a process, not a punishment. You start seeing progress as a journey. Questions. Not a destination. Your brain listens to every word you say. When you say, I'm failing, it believes you and gives up. But when you say, I'm learning, it becomes alert, creative, questions, and focused. You give your brain permission to grow instead of grieve. Let's be real. There will be days when you fall flat, when plans collapse, when you feel lost. On those days, questions. Don't label yourself a failure. Instead, whisper, this is my classroom. Life is always teaching, but the lesson becomes clear only to those willing to learn. Every time something goes wrong, questions. Ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? That single question turns pain into power. You may not be where you want to be, but as long as you're learning, you're moving forward. Questions. Success is not about getting everything right. It's about getting up every time you get it wrong. With a better attitude, a better plan, and a better understanding. So, questions. The next time you're tempted to say, I'm failing, stop, take a deep breath, and say, I'm learning. Say it with conviction, with kindness, with courage. Questions. Because every learner eventually becomes a leader, and every failure, when embraced with humility, becomes the foundation of wisdom. Remember this, you are not defined by your results. Questions. You are defined by your response to those results. And when that response is, I'm learning, life will always find a way to lift you higher. Questions. The way you start your morning shapes your entire day. Questions. Your morning thoughts are like the seeds you plant in the garden of your mind. Whatever you plant in those first few moments after waking will bloom throughout the day. If you plant worry, questions, you'll grow stress. If you plant gratitude, you'll grow peace. That's why starting each day with 3 positive affirmations isn't just a feel-good exercise, it's a life-changing practice. Questions. Every morning, before you reach for your phone, before you scroll through messages or check the news, take a moment to speak to yourself. Not out of habit, but out of intention. Questions. Because the first voice you hear each morning should not be the world's noise. It should be your own voice reminding you of your worth, your purpose, and your strength. Questions. Affirmations are not magic spells, they are mental reminders of who you truly are and what you want to become. When repeated with sincerity, they rewire your thoughts, redirect your focus, questions, and renew your energy. They turn doubt into determination and anxiety into assurance. Let's understand this with a simple example. Imagine 2 people waking up in the morning. Questions. The first person sighs and says, another stressful day. I'm so tired. The second person stretches and says, today is a new beginning. I will give my best. Both have the same questions, same challenges, same responsibilities, yet their days unfold completely differently. Why? Questions. Because the words they spoke to themselves first thing in the morning created the emotional lens through which they saw the day. Your affirmations are like setting the thermostat of your mind. Questions. If you set it to positivity, no matter how cold or chaotic the world gets, your inner temperature stays warm and stable. Let's take a few examples of simple but powerful affirmations you can use. Questions. Today is a gift, I will use it well. I am becoming better, not bitter. Whatever comes, I will handle it with grace. Or say them slowly with belief. Feel the words. Questions. When your ears hear your own voice speaking words of strength, your heart begins to believe them. Questions. This isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about programming your mind to face imperfection with purpose. You see, your brain is like fertile soil. Whatever you plant, questions, it doesn't argue, it simply grows. If you plant fear, it grows fear. If you plant confidence, it grows confidence. By starting your day with positive affirmations, questions, you're consciously choosing what kind of thoughts will grow in that soil. Let's relate this to daily life. Imagine you have a big presentation at work. If you wake up thinking, I'm nervous, questions, I'll probably mess up, your mind starts looking for evidence to support that thought. You'll focus on your flaws, you'll stumble on words, and your fear will come true. Questions. But if you start your morning with, I am prepared, I am confident, I have something valuable to share, your mind shifts into a supportive mode. You stand taller, speak clearer, questions, and deliver better. The situation didn't change, your mindset did. Even when you're going through tough times, affirmations act like anchors. Life's waves may toss you around, questions, but affirmations remind you of your strength beneath the storm. For example, when facing failure, you can say, this setback is shaping me for a comeback. When dealing with loss, you can affirm, questions, I am healing with every breath. When overwhelmed, say I choose calm over chaos. There's a beautiful story of a woman who battled cancer. Every morning while going through treatment, questions, she stood in front of the mirror, bald and weak, and said 3 things. I am alive. I am strong. I am grateful. People asked her how she could say that when she was suffering so much. Questions. She replied, because those words give me strength to face one more day. That's the power of affirmations. They don't erase the pain, but they remind you of your power to rise above it. Questions. And science supports this. Studies show that affirmations activate parts of the brain that enhance motivation, resilience, and problem solving. Questions. They help you perform better under stress and bounce back faster after failure. In essence, your words don't just change your mood, they change your brain. Questions. But the key to affirmations is consistency. You can't say them once and expect a miracle. Just like brushing your teeth daily keeps your mouth clean, affirmations keep your mind clean. Questions. They wash away negativity that builds up from the world's noise. Let's make it practical. Every morning, after you wake up, sit quietly for a minute. Questions. Place your hand on your heart and speak your 3 affirmations out loud. Don't rush. Look in the mirror if you can. Smile gently. It may feel awkward at first, but soon it'll feel natural. Questions. And when you start your day grounded like that, you'll notice how things that used to bother you no longer shake you. And remember, your affirmations don't have to be grand or poetic. Questions. They just need to be true to your journey. For someone, it might be, I am enough. For another, it might be, I trust the process. For someone struggling financially. Questions. It could be, abundance is coming my way. For a student, I am growing smarter each day. The right affirmations are the ones that speak to your current season of life. There's an old saying, questions, words create worlds. Every morning you have the power to create your world. Not by controlling circumstances, but by controlling your state of mind. Questions. The moment you open your eyes and choose positive affirmations, you're telling life, no matter what you bring today, I will respond with strength and grace. And over time, questions. Something magical happens. Those affirmations stop being just words. They become your truth. You no longer say, I am confident. You become confident. You no longer say, questions. I am peaceful. You radiate peace. So tomorrow morning when you wake up, don't let your first words be a complaint. Don't say, I'm tired or I hate Mondays. Instead, questions. Smile. Even if it's a small one, and say your 3 affirmations. They might seem small, but they hold immense power. Questions. Because the way you speak to yourself in the first 5 minutes of your day decides how you'll feel for the next 24 hours. Start each day with 3 positive affirmations. And soon, questions. You'll find that your mornings don't just begin with light, they begin with life.